Good morning. Welcome to Neighborhood Church. Here at Neighborhood, we exist to bring our neighbors to life-changing relationships with Jesus. And here at Neighborhood, everyone is welcome, no matter what. We're going to start by singing some worship songs because God is worthy. So please stand and sing with me.
Nothing can separate, even if I ran away. Your love never fails. I know I still make mistakes, but you have new mercies for me every day. Your love never fails. You stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me. Your love never fails. Wind is strong and the water's deep, but I'm not alone here in these open seas. Your love never fails. The chasm is far too wide. I never thought I'd reach the other side. Your love never fails. You stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me. Your love never fails. You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. Why you sing? You make all things work together for my good. Why you sing? You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. You make all things work together for my good. You stay the same through the ages. Your love never changes. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And when the oceans rage, I don't have to be afraid, because I know that you love me. Your love never fails. Yeah. Your love never fails. Yeah, amen. We could clap to him.
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, oh, we live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, oh, we live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes and wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love divine.
words be our prayer this morning. You are worthy of everything we could ever bring to you, anything we could ever give to you. Jesus, your name is holy, and we know there's no love like yours, because you loved us even when we didn't deserve it. Help us to remember that your love will never fail us, and it's that love that created a bridge to get us to you, Jesus. It's only through you. It's only through you and your love. God, thank you for this day. Please be with Bryson as he gives us the message and open our hearts to what he has to tell us. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Well, hey, you guys can have a seat. Just want to say good morning again and welcome to Neighborhood Church. We're excited to have you with us today. My name is Bryson, and got a couple of announcements to share with you guys. First of all, if you're new here, we would love to meet you today. You can meet us out by the pink sign in the lobby. It looks just like this pink card. I'd love to just connect with you, talk to you a little bit, and we've got a gift for you that we'd love to share with you as well. Some events we got coming up in the next couple of weeks. The first thing is March 17th. We have child dedications, so that'll be during service. And that's something that we're going to do because we want to bring our little ones up here and just dedicate them to the Lord. He's the one who has provided us with the gift of children. We want to just say, God, thank you for this gift, and we want to dedicate raising this child in the name of the Lord. And so if you want to dedicate your child on this Sunday, if you haven't done that before, again, you can come talk to me in the lobby. We'll get you all set up for that. The next thing we got is the following week, March 24th, after service, we're going to be packing gift bags for all the teachers in the school, because if you haven't noticed, we're in a school. So there's teachers that work here, and we just want to say thank you for letting us be in your space, letting us come and use your space Saturday nights to set up, and then Sunday mornings, and then just also to say thank you for all the hard work that they do as teachers. So we have all of the supplies and everything. We would just need you to stay and help if you want to help out with that. And if you do, we'll have pizza. You can have some pizza for lunch with us that day. So we'd love to serve with you in that way on March 24th. And then the next weekend, we got Easter is coming up real quick. It's in March this year. Don't let it sneak up on you. We got a couple things on Good Friday. We're going to have a Good Friday family dinner with everybody. It's going to be a buffet-style taco bar kind of thing. We'll have the meat supplied, and we're just going to have sign-ups to bring all the other good stuff, but more info to come on that, and then mark your calendars for March 31st. That's going to be our Easter Sunday service. We would love for you to join us for that, and bring a friend, bring two friends, whatever it may be, but yeah, that's a great time to invite people to come to church with you, so we'd love to invite you to do that for Easter service, March 31st. It's going to be 10 a.m., just like a normal neighborhood service, but that's all the announcements that I have, so I'll pray and then we'll jump into the message for today. God, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for this time that we can come and be here and just gather to worship you and to hear your word. God, I pray that you would speak through me this morning, that your word would be heard, and not my words, but it's everything that you want to share. And God, I pray that you would just let us see and understand the fullness of your love and what that looks like, and what it looks like in our lives to know your love and to share your love with the people that you've put in our lives. But Lord, we just thank you for who you are. It's in your name we pray. Amen. All right, so I want to start my message by saying this. Someday, I will die. And that's just the truth. There's no getting around it. At least that's what David said a couple of weeks ago when he told us we would all die someday. And I think I believe him, but I'm only 24, so I'm in the stage of life where I know conceptually that someday I will die, but right now I don't actually believe it. It's not actually going to happen. But regardless of what I believe or what I would like to believe, someday my life on earth, it'll be over. It'll end. And the question then will become, what did my life mean? What am I leaving behind? And so unless I do something incredibly noteworthy, the rest of the world, they are not going to remember me. Unless I do something that goes down in the history books, I'll just be another name on a gravestone someday. Even my family, whatever future descendants I may or may not have, after a couple generations, my name will be something that's just like in the family ancestry on Ancestry.com, if that's still a thing at that point. But hopefully, my kids and grandkids would share stories with their kids and grandkids, but that's really about it. And so the question is, what did my life mean becomes, how will I be remembered? What will I be remembered for by the people who do remember me?
We often want to be remembered for our achievements. We want to be remembered for being a great athlete or making some scientific discovery or having a big house and lots of money. That's what a lot of us want to be remembered for, because those are the things that we value right now. Those are the things that are important to us right now. And while we may be remembered for these things, those accomplishments and memories, they won't be what lives on. What will live on is how we did those things. What will live on is how we made people feel when we were around them and doing those things. Because what people will remember is how we loved them and how that impacted their life. Because in the end, no one's going to care how much money you made. No one's going to care how big your house was. Someone else is going to own your house someday when you're gone. No one's going to care how much you worked or what you achieved if it meant that you weren't able to love the people in your life well, especially the people closest to you, like your family and your friends. So what people will care about is the legacy of love that we leave behind by choosing to do everything out of love. And so that's what we're going to be talking more about today. What does it look like to leave a legacy of love? And why is it important for us to make love our legacy? We're finishing up our 3-week mini-series on 1 Corinthians 13. This is known as the, you can go back to the other slide, just leave it up for a while. It's known as the love chapter, and we'll be going through the last few verses. It's 8 through 13, where we hear Paul talk more about the spiritual gifts and the relationship between those gifts and love. That's what he's been talking about the whole time in 1 Corinthians, if we read it in the context of the chapters that are around chapter 13. Chapter 12 is talking about different spiritual gifts and why it's important for all of us to have different gifts, why we can't all just do the same thing, because he says we're like a body. We're the body of Christ. We can't all be hands. We can't all be eyes. We need people to do different functions so that we all work together as one in unison. And chapter 14 is about using those gifts in the church in a way that's beneficial to everyone else that's in the church and the people who are coming to listen, and doing that in a way that honors God as well. Because the Corinthians, whom Paul is writing this letter to, they're really, really bad at that right now. Their church service looks like a lot of people will come up to talk all at the same time, talking over one another. And so nothing is being accomplished. Nothing is productive in that church. Nothing is fruitful in that church. It's just not working out. And so Paul is trying to help them with that. And 2 weeks ago, David, he brought a cymbal up here, and he had Toto and Bob. They were playing some nice music, and then he would just play the cymbal just whenever he felt like it. And it didn't go with the song. It just completely clashed with what was going on. And not clash like a cymbal clash, like clash. They didn't go together. They weren't working in unison. They weren't working in harmony to make a beautiful song like he could have if he was playing on time, on beat, and all those other things that make music so nice. And then last week, David talked about a lot of the attributes of love. It's kind of a famous passage. It says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. He talked about all of those things, and he summed everything up with one thing, that love is tough. It's not easily broken. It's not easily defeated. He talked about like chewing steak. Love is tough. It's hard to get through that. It's kind of a weird analogy, but it's okay. I use weird analogies too. But his point still stands. Love is tough. It's stronger and greater than anything else that we have in this world. And so now Paul is about to conclude his little section of love in verses 8 through 13 of this chapter. And I'll read it. It'll be on the screen. So that's the first one. We'll just start with the first verse, kind of break it down as we go. It says, love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. So that first bit, love never fails. That's great. We like to hear that. But prophecies, tongues, knowledge, any other gifts we can think of, those things pass away. All of them eventually cease or stop or fade. And it seems kind of odd, because those are good things, right? Those are gifts that we use for the glory of God. He's given them to us. We can use them in church. We can use them outside of church to share the gospel, to share God's love with people. Why would they fade? Because Paul says someday all of these things will be gone. Everything but love will fade away. All the gifts we have eventually come to a point where we just don't need them anymore. We get to a point where these gifts that we have, they won't be necessary. But why? Why won't they be necessary anymore? And when is that point? When would we get to a point where we don't need those? Well, when exactly, I don't know, but Paul tells us as we go on in the next verse why we won't need them. So 1 Corinthians 13:9 says, "For we know in part and we prophesy in part." Short and sweet and to the point. All these gifts we do in part. But what does that mean? What does it mean to do something in part? What does it mean to use a gift in part? It's not that we're not using our gifts to the fullest capacity that we can, because imagine if I stood up here and preached to you today and I only used part of my knowledge about the Bible or whatever I needed to make this message. It probably wouldn't be very good. It probably wouldn't be very helpful for anybody if I were to use part of my knowledge to craft this sermon. Using them in part, though, it means that we're using them in a broken and sinful world where we're just unable to use them to the fullest extent. Meaning that all the knowledge there is about this passage or the Bible as a whole or God, we just don't have it yet. We can't fully comprehend all of the knowledge of those things. Think about some common topics of study here on earth. We like to study astronomy or oceanography. Those are some popular things, but we don't know a whole lot. There are some things we can know with pretty great certainty. We can know about the arrangement of the planets, how far they are roughly from the sun. We know about the stars and constellations. We know about the moon. We know about how the earth orbits the sun. Like, that's why we have the calendar. We just had a leap day that would keep our calendar and our seasons in order. We can know a lot of things about the universe, but there are so many things that we just can't know because we can't get out there to study it. We can't get out there to figure out what is going on. If we were to write a book about all the knowledge of the universe, we would probably not even have 1% of what is out there. I probably don't even have 1% of 1% of what's out there. And then with the ocean, don't even get me started on the ocean. They say we know less about the ocean than we do about space, which is crazy because it's here on Earth. We just can't get to it. We don't know how to get down there to where the pressure is so deep and where it's so dark. We can't figure out what's happening at the bottom of the ocean. But there are some things that we can know about the ocean, like how the tides come in and out, like what kind of animals and plants live in the ocean. There are things that we know pretty well. And it's the same thing with biblical knowledge and any other gift. We can use part of it, and we know some things with great confidence and certainty, but there are just some things that we can't know right now. There are some things that we can't use this gift to the fullest extent. Any gifts that we receive as human beings, we just don't have the capacity to fully utilize them. And that's okay. That's okay. Because the gifts that we have, they're intended for this imperfect world. They're intended for right here, right now. We're meant to use them now, even though we only have the capacity to use them in part, and someday they'll fade away. I keep saying fade away. When will they fade away? I said I don't know exactly when, but in verse 10, it tells us a little glimpse of what that'll look like. It says, "But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears." So when completeness comes, all the things that are in part disappear. They'll be gone. But let's remember the first three words from the passage today in verse 8. It says, love never fails. Love is not in part. And the word love in that verse 8, we use the word love in English. It encompasses pretty much every kind of love. You can love tacos or you can love your spouse. It's the same word, but that's not the same kind of word in Greek. And in Greek, the word in verse 8 is agape. And maybe you've heard that before. David has mentioned it in this series a couple of times. But there are 4 words for love in Greek. One of them is storge, which is like a familial love between parents and their children and that relationship. One of them is philia, which is like a friendship. You've heard Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love. It's that relationship between siblings, the relationship between friends. And there's eros, which is a romantic love, which would be between you and your spouse. It's that physical, passionate attraction kind of love. But then there's agape love, and that's God's love. And what is agape love? Why is it different than these other ones? Why does it get its own word? And I think that it's different because it's not quite a familial love. It's not quite the relationship between a parent and a child. Yes, God is our Father, but it's not the same as just a parent. He's way more than that because He created us. He knows every aspect of our being. He knows us so much more and so much deeper and intimately than our parents ever could because He knows everything about us. And yes, He loves us intimately, but it's not an eros love either. It's not that kind of romantic love. I think it shares some qualities like passion for sure, but it's not romantic in nature. It's not a physical kind of attraction like we would have for a spouse. And it's also not just a friendship. Like Jesus calls us his friends, but it's more than that. It's deeper. It's more full than anything that you could have from the greatest friend you could have on this earth. So I think agape love incorporates parts of all these other types of loves. But in the end, what makes agape love, I think, is three things. I'm sure there are more, but this is what I've kind of boiled it down to. Agape love is unconditional. Agape love is sacrificial. And agape love comes from God himself. And it comes from God. I think that's important because the Bible tells us that God is love. It's his very nature. And that's what makes his love different, is because he is love. He has no other choice but to love because that's in his nature. And it's hard for us to fathom what this kind of agape love is, because we by nature are not love. We are sinful. We are broken. And so we just can't fathom what it would be like to just be love like God. The only way that we can know this agape love is because God shares it with us in the first place. And God's love is also different because, like it says in that verse, his love never fails. Because like I said, in English, we just use that one word, love, but where it says agape never fails, that means those other types of love, they can fail. We see families split apart all the time. We see friends stab each other in the back. Friends will fade away, come and go, and romances, they burn out. All those other types of love, they will fail. But God's love will never fail. Because everything that's in part, everything that has not been made complete will fade away. But God's love is not in part. It is perfect. It will live on long past everything else around us. When this world fades away, God's love will never fail. Because when everything else ends, love will transcend. When everything else ends, love transcends, it lives on. Only God's love remains. And if you think about it, it makes a whole lot of sense. The little phrase, love never fails, agape never fails. God is by nature love. He will never fail. We know that God is perfect. He's good. He is eternal. So it only makes sense that his love is the only thing that would transcend everything around us here today. It's a beautiful image to know that everything else will fade away. Good things and bad things. Think about every sin you've committed, every painful or stressful situation that you've had to live through. All our brokenness, it'll be gone someday. We'll be restored and fully made new by God's love and God's love alone. And so if we go on to verse 11, Paul keeps talking about what it looks like to leave behind some of these things. So it says, when I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. So Paul continues on to describe the context of the way that we do things and how love is in everything that we do. Because as I said earlier, we have gifts now to use in this broken world, but someday we won't need them. When completeness comes, when we are perfected in Jesus in the next part of life, once this earthly life is over, we don't need those things anymore. And Paul is saying here that, like a child, we do things in childhood that don't make sense to do as adults. We'll go play on the playground, or we'll make up scenarios with our friends to go and act out, or we only eat certain things because everything else is gross. These are things that kids do, and it's normal for kids to do them, but it's not normal for adults to do them. Some adults still do them. We all know some adults that do that. But most of the time, we grow out of these childish ways into adulthood. So when I was a kid, there was a game that I loved to play. It was Pokemon. I thought it was a great game. Anytime I had free time, I was playing Pokemon. And this is not the analogy that I grew out of playing Pokemon, because I still do that. It's a great game. They're coming out with some new ones. I'm really excited for it. But yeah, what I'm getting at is there was a character in one of the games called Professor Oak, and he was the guy who would give you your starter Pokemon at the beginning. And if you go through the game and you start to use different items, you get different items and different abilities. But if you tried to use them in the wrong place, it would pop up with a message. It would say, Oak's words echoes. There's a time and place for everything, but not now. And so I think this world, this life, this is the time for us to use these gifts. But when we get to the next life, when we are in completion, when Jesus has perfected everything and restored all things, if we try and use these gifts now, that message, I think, would pop up. It's not the time. It's not the place for us to use these anymore. It just wouldn't make sense for us to try and use them because those things fade away and what remains is God's love and God's love only. When everything else ends, love transcends. But why? Why won't we need to use these gifts anymore when completeness comes? What does it mean that completeness has come and everything that's in part fades away? Well, we can look at verse 12. Verse 12 says, "For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror, but then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known." So right now we're only seeing part of the picture. And this phrase he says about seeing a reflection as in a mirror, it doesn't make sense today because our mirrors are good. Our mirrors are clean, they're clear. We can see pretty much exactly what other people would see when we're looking in a mirror. But not in Paul's time. In Paul's time, a mirror was just like a wavy piece of metal that you would hopefully be able to see your reflection in. It's going to be really foggy. It's going to be really unclear what you're looking at in the picture. And so that's what he's saying, is he's saying we can only see a piece of it. We can only see a foggy, clouded image when we look in this mirror. That's what we're seeing right now, is just a piece of it. But someday, we'll be able to see clearly. We'll be able to see face to face with Jesus. We'll be able to see face to face being restored, being made new. We'll get to walk with Jesus. We'll get to talk with him, have a conversation. We'll be with him fully and completely. And when that happens, we don't need these gifts anymore. His presence is greater than all these other gifts. And these gifts right now are really just to use to go out and share his love. The thing is, on this side of eternity, we just can't be with him in that way. We can't be with him completely and fully. But on the other side of eternity, when we walk with him, when we talk with him, we won't need to worry about using the gifts like that we have right now. And it says more than just being able to see him, we'll be known by him and we'll know him. It says, now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. So that last part, even as I am fully known, we are known right now by Jesus. We are known right now fully and completely by the God of the universe. But we just can't know him in that same way right now. We can't know him like that on this side of eternity. But when completeness comes, when we are with him, we'll get to understand, we'll get to know him fully as he knows us right now. And so I think we need to continue on to verse 13. It'll just give us a little bit more context for understanding why, when everything else ends, love transcends. And so verse 13 says, "And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." So they're all important to the side of eternity, clearly. They're all very great. But why is love the greatest? When we think about it, we can look at Hebrews 11. It tells us faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. So having faith requires that something is not fully known, that something is not fully understood. But when completeness comes, when we're meeting face to face with Jesus, what kind of faith do we need then? If you were to tell me about a family member that you have that I've never met, I believe you. I have faith and confidence that you're telling me the truth about this family member and that they exist. And if they ever came here and I got to meet them, I wouldn't have to have faith anymore that they exist because I've met them. I've seen them face to face. And it's the same thing. Our faith is completed when Jesus has restored all things because we've seen it happen. We don't need faith anymore when it's right in front of us. And it's the same with hope. This verse also says faith is confidence in what we hope for. Well, what are we hoping for, right? We're hoping for that restoration. We're hoping for Jesus to come back and restore all things, make all things new. And when he does that, what are we hoping for? We're not hoping for anything anymore because he did it. It's in front of us. We don't have to hope anymore. I took a big test for work this past week so I could get a license, and I had to wait a few days to get the results. And the whole time I was waiting, I was like, I really hope I pass. I don't want to take this again. I don't want to pay more money. I don't want to study again. I was just hoping, Please let me pass this test. And so Wednesday morning, I found out the results, and I found out I passed, and I didn't have to hope that I passed anymore because I could see it. I said, passed. I was like, great. Now I could just celebrate. Now I could just be in the moment. Now I could go in and share the news with all my coworkers and my friends. I did it. And it's the same thing. We don't have to hope anymore when we have been completed. When Jesus has restored all things, there is no more hope because we're in it. It's not that we've lost hope because it's gone. It's we don't have anymore because we're in it. We can experience the joy that comes from the hope that we had. But unlike faith and unlike hope, things that eventually will be completed, we won't need them anymore. Love will always be there. We'll walk with Jesus and see him face to face. We'll know him fully as he fully knows us. And we'll continue to experience his agape love for all of eternity. Because when everything else ends, love transcends. And so what would it look like for you to leave a legacy of love? What would it look like if we all understood the significance of doing everything in love? Understanding that love is the only thing that will last in this life and in the next life. How would it impact our families if we started to love them like we knew love is the only thing that mattered and love is the only thing that will last? How would it impact our friends if we did the same? What would it do for our jobs? How would it impact the way that we work, the way that we do everything else in our lives if all we were focused on is loving the people around us and not all those other things that I talked about earlier? If we weren't worried about the rat race, trying to get all the money that we could, collect all the possessions that we could, because all of those things, we can't take them. We can't take them with us. When we die, those things stay here. And so when I thought about this in my life, when I thought about what would it look like for me to do everything in love, what would it look like if my life was all about loving others, I think people would notice a difference. Which means currently, I don't think I do a very good job of doing everything in love because I'm broken and I'm selfish, I'm lazy even. And please don't hear me wrong. I don't think love is something that we need to work at or to get better at. Because what makes something love, especially agape love, I think is sacrifice. I think it comes down to sacrifice. That's how we continue to make love our lives. It means laying down our lives and putting others first. So what or how could you sacrifice this week to share God's love with someone? What would our community look like if we all began to make love our lives? What would our community look like if we lived our lives with love always on our hearts? Living lives of sacrifice, living lives of putting others' needs before our own. How do we do this, though? What does that look like? Well, Jesus says in John 15:12-13, "My command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." So first of all, this is a command from Jesus to love one another. And not just to love one another with those other types of love, like storge or philia or eros. No, he wants us to love like he has loved us, agape love. We are commanded to share agape love with one another, the way that he has loved us. And he tells us that there's no greater love than laying down your life for your friends. And so I think a lot of people will hear that and they'll take what Jesus did. Jesus actually laid down his life for all of us. He called us friends and laid down his life. And so people are like, I got to die for my friends. That's how I love them, is I'd be willing to die for my friends. And I think that's great. If you would be willing to die for your friends, that's a wonderful thing. That's a beautiful thing. But I don't think that's exactly what he means. I think that laying down your life, I think that being willing to lay down your life doesn't mean dying physically. It could, but I think what it means more practically is dying to ourselves. I think laying down your life means dying to our fleshly desires to put others' needs before our own. And it makes me think of a scene from a show that I like called Parks and Rec. Maybe some of you have seen it. The main character, named Leslie Knope, she's a really high-energy person. She really loves her friends. She would do anything for them. She loves to give gifts. She loves to celebrate anything that she can. And she's just a small town local government employee. She works in the Parks and Recreation department. But I don't know how she does all these things, because I don't know how she has the money to do it, but she does it. She's always celebrating. She's always loving her friends in this way. Literally anything that she can do to love her friends, she's going to do it. And so there's eventually an arc in the show where she wants to run for a seat on the city council. And she has some people who are going to be her campaign advisors, and they start going out and campaigning in the town, but things just aren't going her way. And eventually they drop out. They're like, we can't support you as a candidate anymore. You're just not a viable candidate. But she really wants this position. She really wants this seat on the council. So she's like, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to go out and run. I'm going to do all the stuff that I need to do, and I'm going to do it myself. But that's not working either. And when her friends see this, they're like, we got to do something. So one day, they're all in their office together, and Leslie Knope walks in. And they've got a big banner, and they're telling her, we're going to be your campaign team. We're going to be the people that you need. Whatever you need from us, we're there. We are for you right now. And she's touched. She's very excited and thankful for her friends. But she says, guys, I can't expect you to do this. I can't expect you to put your lives on hold just so I can do this. And one of her workplace acquaintances, or friends, if you will, Ron Swanson, says, name one person here who you haven't helped by putting your life on hold. And I think that's a great picture of what it means to lay down your life. They laid down their lives by putting their lives on hold, by sacrificing their time to do something because they loved their friend, because they wanted to support their friend. I think that's something that we can do for our friends, for our neighbors, is to sacrifice and to lay down our lives in that way. And by doing this, we can follow Jesus' command to love each other as Jesus has loved us. And again, the only way we know God's love is because he shared it with us. The only way we can share God's unconditional, sacrificial love with others is if we let him love through us. And we do this by letting him be Lord of our lives. If we want to love others well with agape love, we let Jesus love through us. Romans 5:8 tells us, but God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And I think this is the ultimate display of agape love. And so let's look at some of the things that I said earlier of what makes agape love agape love. Agape love is unconditional. And this verse says that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. We didn't have to clean ourselves up. We didn't have to sign a contract saying, I'll try better, I'll try harder, I'll be my best. And even if we did sign a contract saying that, it wouldn't matter because we'd all break it immediately. No, his love is unconditional because there's nothing that we can do that could separate us from his love. There's nothing that we could do that would make him not want to die for us on that cross, to love us in that way. And I think that sacrifice is also what makes this love sacrificial. It shows this agape love is sacrificial because he gave everything for us. He came and died for us. And first of all, to do that, he had to come and be a human. He had to live like one of us. Tim Keller, he was a great preacher, theologian, author. He's got a lot of great stuff. But I heard him talking one time, and he said, Jesus coming down to live as a human is the equivalent life form jump of a human becoming like a slug or a snail, something like that. That's what Jesus did for us. He came to live like one of us. Imagine if you were to become a slug or a snail right now. That's what Jesus' life on earth was. He's God. He was in heaven next to the Father, and then he came to walk in one of our fleshly bodies. Why? Because he knew that the only way that he could love us, the only way that he could be with us, was to live like one of us, live a perfect life, so that he could die a perfect death. Because that perfect death on the cross is what paid for my sins, what paid for my brokenness. And finally, this is the ultimate display of agape love because it comes from God. He's the only one who could have done this. He's the only one who could bridge that gap because of our sin, because of our brokenness. He's the only one who loves us in this unconditional way, to have this pure, perfect love. He's the only one who could sacrifice himself in this way for us. He's the only one who could do such a thing. He knew that everything else in this world would fade away, but that one thing would remain. He knew that when everything else ended, that his love would transcend. And so we remember this act of agape love of Jesus dying on the cross by taking communion. And this is something that we do on the first Sunday of every month here at Neighborhood Church. And it's a reminder of Jesus' unconditional sacrificial love that only he could show us. This is something that as followers of Jesus, we take communion to remember this act of love. And so on the screen here, I have Matthew 26 through 29. And this is Jesus in the upper room with his disciples just a little bit before he goes to the cross to be crucified. He says, while they were still eating, Jesus took bread, and when he given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Take and eat, this is my body." And then he took a cup, and when he given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood poured out for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink from this fruit of the vine from now on, until on that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." So McKay and Monica are going to be up here serving communion, and Monica's going to have the bread, and when you come and take the bread, she's going to say, "This is Christ's body broken for you." And then you're going to take that bread and you're going to dip it in the cup that McKay has, and he's going to say, "This is Christ's blood poured out for you." And one note about the juice, traditionally this communion would be done with wine, but we're doing it with juice because we don't want there to be any hindrance to anyone who wants to come and take communion. That's the only reason. That's the only reason it's juice. But this passage from Matthew, it gives us a glimpse into what Paul has been talking about in 1 Corinthians 13. Because he says at the very end there, "I will not drink from this fruit of the vine from now on until on the day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." He's waiting to take it with us. He's waiting until everything has been restored, everything has been made new. We're redeemed, we're perfected in him. We're waiting to take it with him in our Father's kingdom when everything else has ended and his love has transcended. Only his love remains. Everything that is in part, it's faded away. And everything that hasn't faded away has been made complete. So as Toto keeps playing, he'll be singing about the agape love of the Father. The Father's love for us. And so if you put your faith in Jesus, I invite you to come up and take communion, to remember the ultimate sacrifice that he made and to remember his unconditional love for you. There's nothing that you can do to make him love you any more or any less than he does right now. He loves you deeply now and forever because his love will never fail. It will last for all time, always. So Monica and McKay, if you guys want to come up here and grab the elements, I invite you to come and partake in communion and to remember this sacrifice, remember this agape love that God has shared with us.
Turns his face away
wounds which mar the chosen one, bring many sons to glory. How deep the Father's love for us, how vast beyond all measure, that He should give His only Son to make a wretch His treasure. How great the pain of searing loss, the Father turns His face away, as wounds which mar the chosen one, bring many sons to glory. As we get into the next song, just whenever you're ready, let's stand and sing.
Standing here in your presence, in a grace so relentless, I am one by perfect love, wrapped within the arms of heaven, in a peace that lasts forever, sinking deep in mercy. See, I'm wide awake, drawing closer by grace, and all my heart is yours. All fear removed, I breathe you in, I lean into your love. Oh, your love. When I'm lost, you pursue me. Lift my head to see your glory, Lord of all. So beautiful. Here in you I find shelter, captivated by the splendor of your face. My secret place, I'm wide awake, drawing closer by grace, and all my heart is yours. All fear removed, I breathe you in, I lean into your
come to seek your face. I long for you. You are my hiding place, my safe refuge. I find my hope in you. Your peace, it carries me through. Grace deeper than the sea conquered the grave. You gave it all for me, your love displayed. There is power in your name, and I give you all my praise. Roar and mountains fall, you remain high above it all. You are high above it all. Kingdoms rage and nations shake, but you remain high above it all. You are high above it all, Almighty. I've walked through death's valley, I will not fear. Your blood, it covers me. You are my shield when I'm weary and I'm weak. You are all the strength I need. Oh yeah. Above it all, you are high above it all. Kingdoms rage and nations shake, you remain high above it all. You are high above it all, Almighty God. There is triumph in your presence, healing in your peace. So I will lift my voice, proclaiming victory. Oh, there is triumph in your presence, healing in your peace. So I will lift my voice, proclaiming victory. Oh, there is triumph in your presence, healing in your peace. So I will lift my voice, proclaiming victory. Oh, there is triumph in your presence, healing in your peace. So I will lift my voice, proclaiming victory. Waters roar and mountains fall, you remain high above it all. You are high above it all. Kingdoms rage and nations shake, but you remain high above it all. You are high above it all. Sing it again. Waters above it all. You are high above it all. Kingdoms rage and nations shake to remain high above it all. You are high above it all, Almighty God. Waters roar and mountains fall, you remain high above it all. You are high above it all. Kingdoms rage and nations shake, but you remain high above it all. You are high above it all, Almighty God.
Thank you to our worship band. Wonderful music. And when everything else ends, let's remember love transcends. We have a really exciting month here. March 17th, child dedications here during service. March 24th, after church, we're going to fill gift bags for the teachers here at the school. And then we're running into Easter Good Friday for a family dinner on that Friday the 29th and Easter on March 31st. Thanks so much for coming, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.